Many a times we think of the topic of the hikmah as a topic as if it is left on us to decide what is wise and what is unwise. And they get to the point that people start thinking of it as wisdom means whatever our mind thinks is useful, good, is considered as good. As a matter of fact, one of the last ayat that the Hafid was reciting was وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ, that there are things perhaps they look that dislike to you, you don't like them, but they're good for you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala عَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ, there are things that you may like it, but they're bad for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that you don't. So this is a pretext to understand any of the ahkam from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We understand that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided for us, whether we see goodness in that or not, whether we see harm in that or not. If Allah has said something is good, it is good. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has declared something is harmful, it is harmful for us. Whether we see many benefits in there. Now going back to the topic that I will talk about, this ayah or this word hikmah in the Quran has been repeated about 20 times, and out of those 20 times, about 5 times have been repeated in Surah Al-Baqarah. 5 times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the hikmah, as in the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, in which he made the dua regarding Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he said, Rabbana wab'ath fihim rasulan minhum yatlu alayhim ayatika wa yu'allimuhum al-kitaba wal-hikmah wal-hikmata wa yuzakkihim. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us about the dua that Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam made, and that dua, the answer to dua from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was in the shape of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was sent to this world. In this ayah where Allah is using the word hikmah, the meaning of the verse is, O our Rabb, send amongst them a messenger, Rabbana wa ba'ath fihim rasulan minhum, who will recite alayhim ayatika, your verses, and wa yu'allimuhum al-kitaba, and he will teach them your book. And then it says, wa hikmata wa yuzakkihim. Wa hikmah, here you can open any of the tafasir. It talks about hikmah means the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is connected to something came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when we say sunnah of Rasulullah, it means it's another form of wahi. Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a wahi as well. It is not that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was doing things out of his own desires or something. Rather, it is from the wahi as well. When I say wahi, wahi means revelation. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a different form of wahi than the Quran, but it's still a wahi. Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, again in ayah number 151, كَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا فِيكُمْ رَسُولًا مِنْكُمْ يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِنَا وَيُزَكِّيكُمْ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. See, here again is talking about the one who will teach you about the book, which is the Quran, and the hikmah, which is the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the sharia, and the fiqh or the jurisprudence about the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the hikmah means. Hikmah cannot mean in any sense that, I know we translate that in a literal way as wisdom. But what is wisdom? That's something to be understood well. Here in the Quran, when it's talking about that, wisdom is very closely knit to the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There are places it is mentioned as the sharia of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the understanding of the ruling from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I will talk about a couple of other places where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to that as specifically about legal ways. For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the talaq, and here is a وَإِذَا طَلَقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلُهُنَّ فَامْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about if you have given the divorce and you divorce a woman, they fulfill the term, and then how do you leave them? You leave them with ma'ruf. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later on the ayah says, وَذُكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَمَا أَنزَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَحِكْمَةِ يَعِظُكُمْ بِهِ. If you can please keep it low. Jazakallah khair. Okay, so here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us to remember the favors of Islam. Islam means, we're talking about, is ni'mah of Allah is the Islam that was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then it says, وَأَنزَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ وَالْحِكْمَةِ again referring to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is the sunnah? Now, for the divorce, we don't go and use our mind and come to the ahkam here. Here is talking about the hikmah. Here is the legal ways of the Sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you extract what Allah wants in the case of divorce as well. We don't make up laws and rules from our own mind. And similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah again, وَهَزَمُهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ وَآتَاهُ اللَّهُ الْمُلْكَ وَالْحِكْمَةَ وَعَلَّمَهُ مِمَّا يَشَاءُ. Here Allah is talking about Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam. Allah gave him what? Allah gave him the book and the hikmah. Here hikmah means the prophethood. Again, the prophethood, whether talk about prophethood, whether talk about the jurisprudence, whether talk about a ruling, whether talk about sunnah, all of it is connected to the wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not what my mind or your mind can think. And this ayah we read all the time, and we actually refer to each other all the time. When we sometimes, as I hear, people are trying to find a way out of hukum of Allah, so that I will say, oh brother, use some wisdom. Brother, use some hikmah, and do not talk about what Allah has said. The wisdom is don't talk about what Allah has said. How can it be wisdom to talk about, not to talk about what Allah has commanded? Similarly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَمَنْ يُؤْتَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. That he grants hikmah to whom he pleases, and he whom hikmah is granted is indeed granted abundant. About this, Ali bin Abi Talib mentioned, and this is reported by Ibn Kathir in mentioning what does it mean. He said, Ali bin Talib said, Abi Talha, said that Ibn Abbas said that that is the knowledge of the Quran, for instance, the abrogating and the abrogated. What is plain, what is clear? Talking about what is nasikh, what is mansukh, what is clear, and what is mutlaq, and what is not. And that is what is allowed, what is jaiz or not, and what is halal, and what is does not allow, what is prohibited, and it is parables. So all of it is connected to what Allah has revealed. So my brothers, I want to stress this point. When we hear this term hikmah in Islam, it is tightly connected to the wahi. It is not that my mind says that it's okay to deal with the riba because we are living in a society. It's okay to buy one house or two houses or one business or two business. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is declaring the war against the people who are engaged with that. But let's do that because that will benefit the society. Benefit is only what can save us from the hellfire. Benefit is only that can take us to Jannah. Whatever castles we can build in this house. But if it displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is a sign of being the person who is lost, who is a loser in this dunya and will be a loser in the akhirah. So we have to remember that hikmah is that what Al-Hakim, Allah Azza wa Jal, has given to us, and that is in the form of the wahi. Riba, I use one example. There are many examples you can look into. So let's not be the one who is trying to look or avoid the hukum of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Al-Baqarah, the whole surah is named after the incident of the cow. Incident of the cow, even though it's a very small incident, but the very same incident is very tightly knit to this. People try to look for avoiding hukum of Allah, and that's what they were doing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Musa to tell his nation to slaughter the cow. They are looking for all the excuses. They could have just taken any cow and slaughtered it, but no. What kind of cow? What color of the cow? And what size of the cow? We see many cows are similar to each other. And what happened at the end? They ended up making the hukum more and more difficult for themselves. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the people who try to look for tahila or look for excuses to follow the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the one who would love to follow what Allah has commanded, and who hate what Allah has disliked.